Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. This video is about the great Grandmaster Viktor Kupreichik, I hope I pronounced that well, who passed away on the 22nd of May of this year 2017. He was born in 1949. He was a Grandmaster from Belarus, and instead of listing his achievements here, I decided to give a few quotes from people in the chess world. ChessBase, in their article on Kupreichik, says, "The unforgettable Viktor Kupreichik passed away at the age of 67, and with him one of the greatest creative minds in chess passed away as well." The Dutch Grandmaster Hans Rey writes, "He was an attacking artist. Someone once said that his chess vocabulary consisted of 3 words: attack, attack, and attack." The Dutch international master Gert Lichterink writes, "With his small physique he did not look very impressive, but my word, what a chess player he was." And Grandmaster Alex Yarmolinsky, who knew Kupreichik personally, says, "Viktor was always very friendly and eager to spend time looking at crazy stuff on the chessboard. As jaded as we were with the drab surroundings of life in the Soviet Union and the lack of prospects in our stalling careers, the chess part itself remained a single bright spot of joy." And Grandmaster Hans Rey said as well, "From the many games where he blew his opponent off the board with an explosion of energy, I chose the game which illustrates a famous quote from Emil Joseph Diemar, a German apostle of the crazy attacking game. If 2 of your pieces are hanging, you have to hang a 3rd one." So let's have a look at this game from the great Viktor Kupreichik. The game is from 1989, when Kupreichik was 40 years old. It was played in Palma de Mallorca in Spain, and Kupreichik was white against the Brazilian Grandmaster Sunye Neto. Kupreichik opened e4, c5, knight c3, a6. Sunye Neto plays the Kan variation of the Sicilian. Knight f3, b5, d4, c takes, knight takes, bishop b7, bishop d3, e6. All this is theory. Kupreichik castled, queen c7, queen e2, knight c6. Kupreichik took on c6, and Sunye Neto took back with the queen. Now white has to be conscious of the queen takes g2 checkmate threat. Queen takes c6 is a good move, but as Rey writes, d takes c6 is not pretty, but more cautious. Kupreichik played a4, b4, and knight d5. Looks like a strange move if you see it for the first time, but it's pretty obvious. You cannot take the knight, because then there is e takes d5 check. The queen gives check to the king, and white will win the black queen. Of course, Sunye Neto did not fall for that, and he played knight f6. Bishop c4, bishop d6, and rook d1. Complicated position, very complicated position. White has threats like knight takes f6, and if you take back with the g-pawn, there is bishop d5, which is a threat. Also, a simple threat like e4, e5 in this position is a threat, forking bishop and knight. As Rey writes, after bishop b8, the shot bishop h6 would not have been good. You cannot take the bishop, because then there is knight takes f6 check, king f8, and rook takes d7 with a good game for white. But after bishop h6 you can play knight takes d5, e takes d5, queen c7, threatening to take on h2, and threatening the bishop. So d6 is the only move. Then queen back to c6, and now it's again the mate on g2 threat that is there, and black is better here. Back to the game after rook d1. So this variation was after bishop b8, but Sunye Neto did not play bishop b8, he decided to play bishop c5 to deal with the white threats. Now bishop h6 came, and again you cannot take that bishop because of knight takes f6 check with a very good game for white. And here black decides to castle queenside, and as Ray writes, jumps from the frying pan into the fire. Black cannot castle kingside, and in the long run he cannot stay in the center, so he decides to flee to the queenside. Why can he not castle kingside? Let's have a quick look. Because of knight takes f6 check, g takes f6, queen g4 check, king h8, and queen g7 is checkmate. That's pretty obvious. So Sunye Neto tries to find shelter for his king on the queen side. And now a beautiful move from Kupreichik. Bishop b5. And that is Diemer's law. White's knight and bishop are hanging, so he decides to hang a third piece. Beautiful picture. 3 white pieces hanging. And we can all hang their pieces, but only great players can do this, and it still makes sense. In this case, white is simply better. The queen is attacked, so it makes sense to take the bishop. A takes b5, and a takes b5, queen d6, which is the only square for the queen. Black could have decided to take on d5, and then after e takes d5, g takes h6, black has 3 pieces for the queen. But after queen c4, d6, d takes e6, white has a big advantage. So back to the game, queen d6 was played, and now Kupreichik took on f6. Attacking the queen, queen went to f8. There's still 2 white pieces hanging. Kupreichik took on g7, queen takes back, queen c4, attacking the bishop. If you play queen f8 to protect the bishop, white wins with e5, with the threat of rook d6. You cannot step out of the pin with the king, king b8, because of rook takes d7, and if you take back, there is knight takes d7 check, forking king and queen. After queen c4 you can also not take the knight, because then queen takes c5 check, king b8, queen d6 check, king c8, and b6, and white wins. There's nothing you can do against a checkmate threat on c7. So back to the game after queen c4. So queen f8 is not possible. You can also not take the knight, as we saw. So Sunye Neto played d6, protecting the bishop. Rook takes d6 from Kupreichik, and you cannot take that rook because of queen takes c5 check, and black will get mated. You also still cannot take the knight because of queen takes c5 check, king b8, queen a7 check, king c8, rook c6 check. And if you take that rook, b takes c6, and nothing reasonable can be done against queen b7 checkmate. So after the move from the game, rook takes d6, Sunye Neto played queen g5, protecting the bishop on c5. And another beautiful move from Kupreichik, knight d5, interfering with the defense from the queen of the bishop. Sunye Neto took on d5, Kupreichik took on c5 with check, king stepped aside, and rook c6 was the last move of the game. Black resigned, as he will get mated soon. Let's look at one variation. If you take that rook, then there is queen a7 check, king c8, and b takes c6, and nothing can be done against queen b7, and then rook a8 mate if needed. Wonderful attacking game from the late great Viktor Kupreichik, with the highlight the 15th move, bishop c4 to b5, with 3 white pieces being en prise, and still a good position for white. Hope you enjoyed this game from the great Viktor Kupreichik, the great servant of chess. May he rest in peace. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, please leave a comment, and if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel, the link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you very much for watching.